fellow diamond painting addicts, and welcome back to Diamond Painting Anonymous. I'm Daphne, and I'm here today for this week's WIP and Chat. If you're new here, welcome. If you're not new here, welcome back. WIP, W-I-P, stands for Work in Progress, and this is mine. You are welcome and encouraged to go grab whatever you are working on and work alongside while I chat. Or alternatively, you can treat this as a podcast and just listen while I chat. Today I'm going to be working on the kit from October that I still haven't finished, Conversation. I'm going to get started on that. Let me zoom in to where I'm going to be working and I will be right back. Don't go anywhere. All right, I had to go grab my timer because I forgot to put that here, but it's running now. So let me jump into my life update. What's been going on in my regular life? We're still settling in and figuring how everything works here in Canada, which is to say a lot more slowly than it works in the States. I told my husband it's kind of frustrating to me how long everything seems to take, but in talking to him and family and other people from here, yeah, it's just, I guess the pace is slower here. Things just take longer. And people seem unconcerned about that, so I guess it is what it is. We got our car insurance finally. Our agent was afraid that we were going to be upset about the cost. And when I told them that the price that they quoted for us for a year was less than half of what we were paying for 6 months in the States, they were very happy, excited that they managed to find a company for us that would save us money, and everybody was happy. So once we got the insurance set up for here in Canada, we were able to call and cancel our insurance back in the States. It was pretty funny what we're getting back because we just paid for 6 months of car insurance back in October. And what we're getting back from the insurance company is going to more than cover what we're paying to the new insurance company for a year. So it's all good. It all works out. So basically, I feel like it was money we'd already spent, so we didn't have to come up with anything, and it's not costing any more than it did before, which is something I was worried about. Because you just never know when it comes to insurance how things are going to work. We still have to add the trailer. We were waiting on the title to arrive in the mail. It finally did. So now we'll see how much house insurance costs once we find a house. Because I don't think renter's insurance is going to be comparable to covering a whole house. So we'll see what that's like. Also, I was talking to family about the fact that we've been given a timeline by the insurance company. We have to change our driver's licenses over to Canadian driver's licenses by a certain number of days. And I told my family that I was just considering taking the driving test. One, because I thought it'd be interesting, and two, because that would let me keep my U.S. driver's license. I told my husband, I don't know why it bothers me so much that they're going to be taking my U.S. driver's license. I think just because it was such a rite of passage, and also I've had one for so many years now, it just feels weird to, I mean, I'll have a driver's license, it just won't be a U.S. one. But also it just seems weird that they want it, because what am I going to do with it? But when I was talking to my husband's family about, oh, well, I could just take the driving test over, they're like, well, if you do that for insurance purposes, basically they consider you a brand new driver with no driving experience, which I was like, okay, that doesn't make any sense to me. But so that is not an option for me, because I definitely don't want to get treated at my age as an inexperienced driver and be paying a ton of money for car insurance when I don't need to. So good to know that insurance companies have just as dumb rules up here as they do in the States. Like I said, there's still lots to figure out. We are still migrating our accounts to Canada and figuring out which ones we want to migrate and which ones we don't. Because there's weird things like, I guess Hulu doesn't exist in Canada, and we get free Hulu and Disney Plus and something else through our phone plan, which our phones we were going to keep because our plan gives us unlimited talk and text in Canada. So there's really no need for us to switch our phones. But for things like Apple, if we change our Apple over to Canada, because you can only get certain Canadian apps like grocery store apps and stuff from the Canadian App Store. So if we migrate our Apple IDs over to Canada, then there are certain ones from the US that we wouldn't be able to get anymore. Also, if you migrate them over, basically we have to cancel our US services. So like for Apple, my husband we have Apple Plus. It gives us Apple Music, Apple TV, whatever. We would have to cancel those. You have to either spend or just lose any money that's in like Apple Cards or Apple Pay. Because I don't have my bank account hooked to Apple, but we do go out and buy Apple Cards periodically. So if I want to spend some money, then rather than having to hook my bank account, I just use the money that I got on an Apple Card. That would all either have to be spent or go away. And then basically I have to start all over. So trying to figure out, and same with Amazon. Amazon has got weird rules for that as well. Hubby and I were talking about diamond painting stuff. And he's like, you just need to bite the bullet and switch everything over to Canada and pay Canadian prices and what all of that. But then when it comes to his stuff like Apple and everything, he's like, well, I don't know if I want to do that. So we're still trying to figure out what to migrate and what not to. Most of our US bills are either no longer in force. Stuff that we were paying online, like utilities and stuff like that, is gone now because we don't own the house anymore and everything here at the rental is paid by the landlord. We just pay the landlord rent and they cover everything else. And I've gone paperless and online payment for anything else for our US stuff. Like our bank accounts, we get paperless statements. I can do all my banking online, that sort of thing. So there are a few things that are going to come up, I think, that we can't do online. But so far, I've been able to do way more online than I thought. So for instance, I've been waiting on some bills. One of the things I was waiting on was the bill from the Port Authority for all of our tolls when we drove up here. My sister has been collecting our mail, but she just had surgery. So rather than bugging her about the bills, I thought, well, let me see if I can find it online. Because my husband's like, well, it didn't use our car's license plate number. We had the trailer hooked on, so they wouldn't be able to see the car. And I'm like, yeah, but there's a license on the trailer, and the trailer's registered to us, so they're going to find us. So I went out and did some searching, found the place, and I could pay the tolls online. I just needed the license plate number. So I put that in for the trailer, found the tolls, paid them, ta-da. When we'd paid before, coming up with just the car, it was only $15. This time, because we were hauling the trailer, they were $45. So having some extra axles definitely made a difference to the price, but that's paid, so I could get that off of my plate. And then I was still waiting. I paid a couple of lab bills that my sister sent with the last batch of bills, mail that she sent to us. I was able to get on, I could pay them online, but until I have like the bill, so I know the account number and stuff, it's a little difficult. And I know I have bills coming because I have explanation of benefits from the insurance company saying what stuff was paid. And the doctor, I hadn't gotten a bill from. So I called the doctor's office and said, I want to pay this bill. How much is it? And then it was the amount that matched my insurance stuff. So I said, okay, well, can I pay it over the phone? And she said, yeah. And I said, is it any extra? Because sometimes when you pay over the phone versus using their online system, they charge you extra. I don't really know why. I don't know if it's because they have to pay a fee or whatever. She said, no, it wasn't any extra and I could pay it over the phone. So I gave her my card information. She paid it literally while I was still on the phone with her. She sent me an email receipt to show me the amount and everything. So that's all paid now. So now I can stop sweating that one. I still have 2 more insurance claims though from different lab places. One is from a lab place that I paid before. That one, apparently that charge hadn't been processed when the other ones were. And I tried to pay the whole amount because I knew how much it was going to be. The online thing wouldn't let me do that. It wouldn't let me pay that. It was like an extra $10 or something that I owed. It wouldn't let me pay that as an extra. So I'm like, I got to wait for it to show up in their system. Although as I'm sitting here thinking about it, I guess I could pull that old bill back out now and use that information and just see if it shows that there's that extra $10 in there now and pay that one. But the other one I haven't gotten anything on at all, and I don't even recognize the name of the lab place, so I can't get online to try and figure out where this bill was from, so I guess I just got to wait on that one. And the other thing that I wanted to get paid was the sale of our lot. Even though the people who are buying it are the same people that bought the house, they aren't completing the sale until like next April, which means hubby and I still have to pay property tax on it, which is due in December. And I was like, I'm waiting on that. It hasn't shown up yet, but I found out I can pay it online because I typically send a check, which I could still do, I guess, but with the postal strike on, I don't know how I would mail it. I guess I could FedEx it, but I don't want to spend that much money just to mail it if I can do it online. I just need the info, which I think I can get off of a previous statement. So I'm going to try and get online and do that. Okay, I finished up this little section here. Let me expose this next section here, move stuff around a bit, and I'll be right back. I really want to try and get this one done as quickly as I can because I'm so behind in finishing this one. I knew I wouldn't finish the whole thing in October, but then we ended up having the move and everything else going on, and then it was time for DP for veterans. So yeah, this one's just taking longer than I wanted to, but that's okay. All right, so I was talking about bills. I think that's the last of the bills. Like I said, property tax and a couple of lab bills. Those are the last of it. And then everything from the US should be all paid up. We paid all of our utility bills and everything before we left, so we should be good. Now we can focus on what we're doing here, start searching for a house. I told my husband maybe we'll get lucky, and if we're looking for it through the winter when most people aren't house shopping here, then maybe we'll be able to find a good deal on something. We'll see. The housing market is still pretty quick here. We've already seen a couple that we thought might be promising go up and then sell within just a couple of days. So we'll just have to see. I mean, we're here in the rental until April or May, so it's not like we're in a hurry yet, but I would like to start looking in earnest at the end of December. That means we've had a couple of months to kind of set in, figure out how life's going to work here, and yeah, just get settled in. I'm still waiting to see what kind of weather there is here. They keep promising us snow, but it hasn't happened yet. I think Wednesday, Thursday, Friday of last week, they kept saying we were going to get 1 to 3 inches. Nothing ever showed up. Now, a town south of us got like 3 inches, enough snow that they closed schools for the day. We got some snow on Friday, but it was gone by Saturday morning, so I still haven't seen much snow. Hubby and I are planning to take a trip into Maine this week, get our meds picked up so that we can have those until we can figure out how to switch them up here to Canada. We're gonna maybe drive into Bangor. We're still talking about it, but I think we may end up doing that because there's a Target in Bangor, there's a Walmart in Bangor, and in looking online, it's got some stuff that we couldn't get here. My youngest was super excited to find out that there is a Target in Bangor. Not sure exactly what he wants from there other than Chick-fil-A sauce, but it will be cheaper to drive into Bangor, spend the night, since we're going anyway to pick up meds and stuff, spend the night, and then go do some shopping at Walmart and some other places. Bangor's a bigger city than where we were living before, so I told my husband I'm kind of want to go to the Walmart, see if their Walmart carries any diamond paintings. At home, my local Walmart was too small. They didn't carry anything like that, but hopefully Bangor's big enough they might. I don't know if I'll buy anything, but we'll see. We did have a nice Thanksgiving. The youngest made an apple pie with fake sugar so hubby could eat it. I made a chocolate pie, and we had turkey and mashed potatoes and not all the usual fixings since it was just the 3 of us, but it was nice. They watched football. I had a nice video call with my daughter, so I got to see her on Thanksgiving. She had a Friendsgiving dinner with her friends since my sister just had surgery and didn't feel up to cooking. So she didn't, instead of going over there, she went to her friend's house and had a little Friendsgiving celebration over there. So she wasn't alone, which was good. Made me feel a little less guilty. And I got to talk to her. We've been doing video calls once a week since we left. I enjoy them. I hope she does too. I get to see her face and actually talk to her. Remember when video calls like that were a thing on the Jetsons and we thought they would never ever happen? Still waiting on my flying car that folds up into a briefcase and my Rosie robot that does all my cleaning for me, but I do at least have video calls, so I appreciate that. The oldest is a little frustrated right now. Before we left, well, several times before we left, before we even sold the house, her car, the check engine light keeps coming on. We've had it in the shop multiple times and they can't seem to figure out what's wrong with it. They'll tell us they have it fixed. They take it out, drive it around, clear the code, and tell us it's all fixed. And then as soon as she gets back in the car, it's back. So this time, well, last time we had it in, we were still in the States and we were using a local mechanic, and they're very nice. So we've not had any problems with them. But hubby took it in. They said, oh, we think it's this. We cleared the codes, should be good to go. So we picked it up to drive it back to her at work. And as soon as hubby got in the car, the light came back on. So he called the mechanic. The mechanic's like, well, bring it back, because it was just a small part that they had changed. He's like, that must not be it. Let me see what else I can find. So he kept it, I don't know, overnight for a while. Anyway, he called my husband and said, well, there's this part that I think is the issue and I need to order it. I don't have one in stock, but it won't be in until like the next week or something. And this was really close to when we were getting ready to close on the house and move. And so hubby said, well, go ahead and order the part and then we'll figure out what we need to do, because we didn't know for sure when it would come in, if we would be gone by then or whatever. Well, it took a couple weeks to come in, and so we were done with the house and moved by then. But talking to people over the phone, we said, you know, we'll have her bring it in, and they had a loaner car that they could give her, so if they needed to keep it overnight or whatever. She was going to be off the whole week of Thanksgiving, so she's had this whole last week off. She was supposed to take it in on Monday. They called like the Friday before and said, oh, we need to postpone this until Wednesday. Okay. So she takes it in on Wednesday, gets the loaner car from them so she can drive around, do what she needs to do. And they call her and say it's ready. They've changed out this part, and hubby and I had paid the bill. It was like $400 or something for the part plus labor. So I'm talking to my daughter after she picks it up and saying, okay, well, everything should be fixed. And she's like, Mom, the light came back on as soon as I got in the car. And I'm like, what? So I'm telling my husband, and he's like, okay, well, let me call the mechanic. The receptionist is like, why didn't she come right back in? We told her if the light came back on when she started the car to come back in and tell us. Well, my daughter had to go pick up some medication, so she wanted to go do that. So she just hadn't gone back in, and she's like, Mom, it always just comes back on. And I'm like, that's not the point. The point is there's something wrong somewhere, whether it's just a bad sensor or something. I don't want you driving around in a car with the check engine light on, because then if something does go wrong, you will ignore it. So it needs to go back to the mechanic. So she picked up her meds, finished doing her running around, took it back to the mechanic. And talking to her, she's like, yeah, the receptionist is like, why didn't you just come back in? Well, I had to go get my medication. And the lady's like, okay, well, they give her back the loaner car. She drives home thinking that, you know, they'll be done. But also, it's the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. They're going to be closed on Thanksgiving for Thanksgiving. And then they're not open on Fridays. They're never open on Fridays. So I was like, well, I guess we'll find out whether or not she gets it back in time. Well, she didn't. They called her and said, well, they haven't figured out what the issue is. They think it's something wrong somewhere in the wiring, which to me, there's got to be a short somewhere if they can't, or a sensor has gone bad that keeps throwing this code. Because the car runs fine. It's not like there's been anything wrong with the way the car runs. So she's keeping their loaner car to drive while they try and figure out what the problem is. Hopefully it won't be another $400 problem. And like I said, I don't think these people the mechanic is doing anything wrong. I think it's just, for whatever reason, it's hard to diagnose, because whatever code it's throwing is not actually an issue with the car, which is what makes me think it's a problem with the sensor for whatever that code is for. But I'm not a mechanic, so what do I know? Hopefully this time, having been able to keep it and hopefully drive it around. So that's my thing, is like, well, we drove it around and it didn't come back on. Well, did you let it sit and then go drive it again and see if the code came back on, because every time we pick it up, it's there immediately. It's not like it's gone for a while and then it comes back. So we'll see what happens. So yeah, lots of things going on in our regular life. What's been going on in my diamond painting life? Not a ton. Yesterday, hopefully you guys saw that video, I finished my gnome, my patriotic Christmas gnome, which was my entry for, well, not entry, but my kit for DP for Veterans this year. I'm so happy that I managed to finish it. With the move and everything happening, I was so afraid that I was not going to be able to get that one done. So I'm super excited that I managed to finish it, especially since it was the only kit that I was going to be able to do for the event. I would have been super annoyed and upset with myself if I didn't manage to get it finished. So, but I did, so it's all good. Sad to see the event come to a close. I've been loving seeing all the progress posts and pics that everybody's been putting on Instagram and Facebook. I love seeing what everybody's working on. Even if it's not an event, I love seeing what people are working on in the Facebook group and on Instagram. So that's been fun. And people always post more when there's an event going on, so that's been nice too. Just more pictures to look at than usual. But the event is closed. So I will be going through all of the entry and exit forms and all the finish pics and putting together the montage video and drawing the winner here in a few days. So make sure that you've hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss when that video posts, so you can see whether or not you are one of the prize winners. Not quite sure how I'm going to mail out packages yet. The Canada Post strike is still going on here. I told Debbie I might have to take another trip back into the States to mail some stuff, but it depends on where the winners are from too. Like if it's someone from the States, then we really might drive back across the border just to mail stuff so I can get it sent off, because I can't mail anything here, and sending it through like FedEx or something would just be expensive. Although that may be what I have to do. We'll just have to see. I did also manage to finish another project before the end of the month. It won't be this one, obviously, but I did finish the little budget muka that I had kitted up, sort of, for the Muka Mania event. So I did manage to finish that one. It turned out pretty good. I'm pretty happy with it. It's small. It was only 40 by 50, so it's pixelated, but I had fun doing it, and that's what matters. So, and I wasn't participating for any of the prizes in the event or anything. I don't even know what the rules are. I don't even know if that kit would have qualified, but it was a Muka, so I'm counting it in my head. So I did manage to get a couple of things done, even if I didn't manage to finish this one. This one, as you can see, there are places where it has confetti, but there are also some places where it's some multi-placing, so I'm hoping that this won't take me too terribly long. I would like to finish this one before I start on the gingerbread lighthouse for December, but we'll see how many days this takes me. I'm not going to, I considered taking it with us on our trip into the States because we're going to spend overnight, and I thought, well, I could work on it, but I don't really want to carry this whole thing with me. Also, if I end up buying some diamond paintings at like Hobby Lobby or Joann's or Michael's or someplace, I want to save all the room in my suitcase for those. So taking this one that I have to carry all the drills and everything in the carrying case and all of that, just, yeah, it can wait until I get back. And I have the big gingerbread lighthouse that I'm going to be doing in December, which should be the last kit for my Want series, so hopefully I'm going to make that goal. I kind of want to do another holiday kit though, but I'm not sure if I'll have time. The other holiday kits that I have are all pretty big. One is another big Dreamer Designs, but it's square. So I'm tempted to do that one because everyone keeps asking me about Dreamer Design squares, and I've only done one square from them, and it was an older kit and it was pretty gappy, to be honest. So I feel like I should do one of the newer ones to see what the newer ones were like. I don't know. Also, speaking of buying stuff, what did everybody get, if anything, for Black Friday? I personally did not buy anything. I think I'm going to wait for Cyber Monday to see if any of the new releases on Cyber Monday or anything that I want. But sadly, out of the 100 kits that Diamond Art Club released, there was maybe 3 that I even considered, and only one that I really sort of was like, yeah, I could buy that one. Everything was very dark. They seemed like there were a lot of very dark, like even some of the mermaid kits, which normally I would consider and would like, were super dark. I am not a fan of paintings that are mostly blacks and browns. Got to have some color in them for me. So none of those were my style. I'm not into mushrooms. I'm not quite sure why there were so many mushroom paintings for sale, but I'm not into mushrooms. I did consider the JoJo's Art dragon one, but again, it's basically just greens and browns. And I just thought, I don't know if that's something I want to spend that much time on. My eyes are kind of old, and doing paintings like that where there's a lot of dark colors just aren't that easy for me. I can do them, but it needs to be something that I really, really, really want to work on, and there just wasn't anything. So I ended up not buying anything. The couple that I thought about, including the one from JoJo's Art, ended up selling out, so I don't know if they're going to do a restock at some point. I figure I'll just take my chances and wait. If something comes back into stock and anything in the new releases on Cyber Monday is something I want, then I'll see then. But I think I've just reached the point in my diamond painting journey where I look at my stash and I'm like, I have enough paintings to keep me busy. It needs to be something I super duper want before I'm going to spend the money on it. Just because, especially right now for us in the rental, space is at a premium. Like I said, I have plenty of other kits that I want to get to. I've even considered doing some kind of a detox thing like Lizette did over at Lizette Crafts and Tells, just to kind of clear the slate, you know? Does that make sense? I'm not to that point yet, but I am getting way more picky about what kits I buy for anything. And I mean, I looked at, it wasn't just Diamond Art Club, I looked at Oraloa and Dreamer Designs and some smaller stores and things like that, and just really nobody had anything that I wanted. That was a must-have for me anyway. So I'm curious, did any of you buy anything? Leave me a comment and let me know if you bought kits. Which ones did you buy? If you bought on Black Friday, are you planning on buying anything on Cyber Monday, or did you spend all your money on Black Friday? I think that's the thing for me. I still have money in my budget to spend. I don't have to spend it. It's not that, but there is that, well, I have money to spend, I should get something. But I don't have to spend it, but I want to. Honestly, it just, like I said, I think when you're a new diamond painter, you get caught up in all that FOMO around Black Friday. I'm just not at that point in my diamond painting journey anymore. And honestly, even regular Black Friday sales, hubby and I were looking because we thought, oh, well, Amazon will have some good Black Friday deals, maybe to replace like some small kitchen appliances or mattresses or bed frames or something like that, something we could store in the trailer until we find a house. We didn't even really find any good sales on anything like that. It's one of those things where you don't buy it prior to Black Friday thinking, oh, there's going to be some good Black Friday sales. And then when the sale happens, you're like, this isn't really a sale. It's not really that much of a savings over what I would have paid if I just bought it when I was out looking for it. And I've seen the same thing kind of floating around on social media, that the Black Friday sales this year weren't that interesting to anybody. So I don't know if that's because the sales weren't that great. People just are a little more careful about their money. I don't know, a combination of both of those things maybe. I mean, I know that we certainly have been a little more careful with what we're spending, but we would have spent if we thought we were getting a decent deal, and just nothing seemed like that. Plus, it's a little harder for us to navigate because we're trying to, okay, that's this price on the American Amazon, but if we buy it from Canadian Amazon, how much does it cost? Figure in the exchange rate, all that kind of stuff. It gets a little tricky trying to figure out how much everything costs. Because sometimes it's not just the exchange rate, there's other factors that it's a little harder to figure the monetary value of. I did also, well, I would have considered buying the Dakota Detweiler that they released. However, that's actually one of the kits that I have from Craftably. So I didn't need to buy it from Diamond Art Club because I have it from Craftably, and I'm sure I'll enjoy it when I get to it. But yeah, just didn't buy anything. So I guess my points are going to sit there for a little bit longer. Maybe one of these, I should go look and see when my points are going to expire and see when I need to buy something. Maybe that will be an incentive because I know my points won't last forever. Maybe that needs to be a goal for 2025, figuring out how many points I have at all the various companies and spending them before they disappear. I don't want them to disappear before I have a chance to use them. That's sort of like free money. And if things are going to be a little bit more expensive now that I'm living up here, then I definitely want to be able to take advantage of those. Maybe I'll go see what's left after the initial rush of Cyber Monday and Black Friday. But yeah, leave me a comment and let me know if there's anything that you bought. Was there anything that was a must-have for you? There were a couple of Spanglers that I thought were really cute, but I still have like 4 or 5 Spanglers already in my stash that I haven't done yet. I didn't want to buy any more until I've done those. Maybe that was just my attitude for the whole thing. I don't want to buy any more until I've finished these. Although I realize now I did actually buy something on Black Friday. I bought the upgraded version of DaVinci Resolve, which is a video editing program that I'm trying to learn how to use. Mostly for the other channel. I don't really need it for this one because I don't do a ton of editing on these videos. A lot of the videos here are pretty much what you see is what you get. I do edit out some swearing or spills or me stammering sometimes, those sort of things. But other than that, I don't have a lot of editing to do. The other channel will not be like that. And they were having a sale, which they almost never have a sale on the software, so I bought that. That's really the only thing we bought for Black Friday. Even hubby didn't buy anything, which is unusual for him. He's almost always out there looking for deals on electronics and stuff like that. Anyway, so I did actually buy that, but no diamond paintings. And then after kitting up the gingerbread lighthouse, somebody made a comment that they have some basically knockoff Elizabeth Ward trays, and they use those for like when they need a bunch of extra little of the tiny size and things like that. And I was like, oh my goodness, I have one of those. How did I forget I have one of those? And it is something that I brought with us. It's not something I got rid of. It's sitting on a shelf right in front of my face, and I completely forgot about it. So I should have used that when I was kitting up the gingerbread, but oh well. I still need to also go through all my ABs and pick out what I want to use in that kit. I have a lot of 5200 still left over from the Christmas gnome that I can use, so I'll probably be doing that. And then I need to go through all my other ones. I was actually super surprised. One of the last totes that we unloaded had my spare drills in it, which I did bring all the way from Canada, my spare drill storage. We wrapped it with plastic so that the lids wouldn't come off, but I wasn't sure how well things would fare inside the tote. There were a couple pretty hefty bumps along the trip that we thought, oh no, pretty sure some things went flying around inside the trailer after that bump, but I was pleasantly surprised when I opened it. Nothing had really moved. They must have, all the drills and everything must have been packed in there tight enough that they didn't really move around with the lids on. So I'm super excited. Everything stayed in place, which means it's a good system because everything survived transport. So now that we're getting kind of to the end of 2024, I've been looking ahead to 2025. Also, since DP for Veterans is now done, I've got some brain space to start looking ahead. I've been trying to figure out what I want to do for goals for 2025. Still working on those. I am going to update the logbook for 2025, so I'll be sharing that at some point. I need to print out a calendar and just kind of sit down and rough out what kits I want to do each month. It's not set in stone, but just having a plan like that helps me to see whether or not some of my goals are kind of crazy, if I'm going to be able to reach them. Because there have been a few years where I'm like, I'm going to do this. And it's like, that's way too much. I'm never going to finish all of that. So now I try to go through the calendar and kind of write down for each month what kits I want to do. Also, I always forget about events. So I'm thinking that I will go back and do some searching for events in 2025 and see if there's any of those that I want to participate in, or at least that would give me an excuse to do a certain kit, because I don't really participate in the events. I just say I'm doing a kit for this particular event, and then I can post pictures at the same time as everyone else, but I'm not doing it for prizes or anything. So, but I'm sure there's probably some events out there that I don't even know about that I might like to participate in. I need to look up the Muka Mania and see if that is something he's going to do more than 1 year of, because I definitely have a couple of larger Mukas. It's in November though, so I don't know if I want to, because that'll be when I'm busy with DP for veterans. Do I want to try and do 2 big kits? See, those are things that I'll have to work out. And when I get my calendar all set up, then I can see, that maybe not is going to work, and I need to make some changes. As for events, I am still planning on doing DP for pets and DP for veterans next year, so make sure you have those on your calendar. DP for pets will be in June, and DP for veterans will be in November again. Not quite sure what they're going to look like. DP for pets might be interesting because we might be in the middle of another move. That's right about the time our lease runs out. And I think it runs out in May, and that's in June. So maybe I'll have everything worked out by then. We'll see. All right, I think I made some good progress on this for today. You can see I'm starting on her first little foot here. I finished basically the bottom part of the broom. Now I just have to do the broom handle. And I've got another row, I think, and then I'll be done with the pumpkin and all the yellows and oranges. And hopefully it will go a little bit faster because a lot of the background is like these dark purples, but it's a lot of multi-placing. So hopefully that will let me finish a little bit faster. I've got basically 4.5 rows left on this one. And like I said, I would like to be finished. Well, I'd like to finish this in the next week or so, and then I'll start on the gingerbread lighthouse. And then I need to have a look in my stash and see what else I want to try and get done before the end of the year. That's it for me today, guys. Thanks so much for sticking around till the end of the video. Before you leave, don't forget to do all the things. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and hit that bell notification icon so that you can be informed of future uploads. And as always, guys, thanks so much for watching.